Sure. Thank you, Matt, and thank you all for joining us. We're happy to be here to provide some updates for the Ullrich Water Treatment Plant community meeting. So our agenda tonight, we will start with welcome and logistics. We'll do some introductions for our speakers and our team members who we have on the line. We'll hear an operations update from plant staff, and we will give an overview of projects that are in progress or planned at the plant over the next couple of years. And then we'll have a question and answer session, and I'll explain how you can participate in that, and then we'll conclude the meeting. So I want to welcome you here. I'm Emily Chancellor, and I work on Austin Water's construction projects throughout our service area. We're happy to have you here. Most of us are working from home, so you'll see us coming from various locations, and you may even hear a dog barking in the background or a kid running through. We're all doing our best to continue to provide public input and public engagement opportunities while we're in this situation with the pandemic. A few logistics to go over. Attendees for the meeting, you are muted, you won't be able to speak, but you can participate by asking questions or posting comments in the chat box. So we have an image of that here on the screen. If you click on the Ask a Question button, you can put those questions in now during the presentation or later when we get to the question and answer section. We have scheduled this meeting for 45 minutes. However, if there are still questions at the end of that time, we'll be glad to stick on the line and continue to engage and answer questions just like we would in an in-person meeting. And we've done a lot of practice runs. We are typically doing these kind of things in person in a meeting room. We've practiced with the technology. If you have trouble joining the meeting, then feel free to follow up with me later, and I'll be glad to work with you to get you the information you need. We also will post a copy of the presentation on the website following the meeting. So we'll start now with speaker introductions and start off with Julie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Julie Hollinsworth, and I am new to my role as the Treatment Division Manager.
And good evening. I'm Bill Stauber, and I manage Austin Water's Facility Engineering Division. Our team provides engineering support to all of the City of Austin's water and wastewater treatment plants, lift stations, pump stations, and reservoirs. Gareth?
Yeah, my name's Gareth Nicely. I'm the supervising engineer for facility engineering for the water team. And basically what Bill said, we help support all the treatment plants, pump stations, reservoirs, and a few other facilities throughout the city.
All right, and my name is Brian Barnett. I'm the project sponsor for these projects at Ullrich. I work underneath Gareth Nicely with Austin Water.
And then I'm Emily Chancellor. As I mentioned, I work on community outreach for our projects throughout our service area. I can always be a contact for you if you have questions about things at the plant or anything going on in the Austin Water service area. And then I'm going to do some introductions for our team members who are also on the line. You may hear from them later during the question and answer section. They're available to answer questions. So from Austin Water, we have Kevin Fetterman, who's the Ullrich Superintendent. And we have Ryan Baxter, who's a project sponsor for some of the projects going on there at the plant. And Austin Water works with the Public Works Department here within the city, and they help us to deliver our capital improvement projects. They provide support for the project in the design phase and construction phase. And so from that team, we have Jason Martinez, the plant inspector, Nicholas Sibyl, project manager, Robin Hosh, project manager, and Minda Sarmiento, also a project manager. So they're behind the scenes helping make all of this work happen also. And next we'll have an operations update from Julie Hollinsworth, and I'm happy to hand it over to you, Julie.
Thank you, Emily. So I think most of you are familiar with the location of the Ullrich Water Treatment Plant, seeing that you are our neighbors, but you might not know that Ullrich is one of 3 drinking water plants owned and operated by the City of Austin. This plant has been in operation since 1968 and has been through many upgrades over the years to improve efficiency and safety and water quality. In 2006, some of you might remember the completion of the large expansion project that increased the plant's capacity from 100 million gallons per day to 167 million gallons per day, making it our highest producing plant in the city. Ullrich is critical to providing high quality water to wholesale customers and residents, mostly in South Austin, including the community of Westlake Hills. So I think, a lot of you know that 2020 has been a different kind of challenge for all of us. I think you might have heard of something called COVID-19. And as an organization, we acted early to keep our staff and their families safe without compromising the service or water quality. Throughout Austin Water, there are many employees, like Emily said, that have been working from home since mid-March. And this is simply not an option for many of our staff that work at the plants. They can't do their jobs from home. So we've implemented processes and procedures to reduce their risk while they're at work. We've created schedules and rotations that keep the employees on teams to reduce the intermingling of the staff. We have temperature screening stations at all of the plants set up that all staff and visitors must go through and have their temperature checked as they come into the plant. Our logistics teams have worked to procure large quantities of hand sanitizer and disinfectant and masks and gloves and other PPE for our staff. We've added air purifiers in our control rooms, and the staff is taking extra care to disinfect and sanitize the spaces between shift changes. Overall, our efforts have paid off, and our plant staff have remained healthy and able to continue to provide the service that the community needs. So later on in the presentation, Brian is going to tell you more about some of the larger projects, but I wanted to let you know about some of the small changes we've made at the plant that have hopefully had a noticeable impact. We have worked to reduce the speed of the exhaust fans on our lime building, therefore reducing the amount of noise they make. We've worked with our security team to add a dampener on the travel alarm on the front gate, which is the beeping that it makes as that large gate moves back and forth. We tried to make that less noisy. We've positioned our Austin Water hauling trucks in a different area of the plant so that when they come in and out, it is less activity and noise for the neighborhood. And we've worked with our chemical vendors and our delivery drivers and even the garbage and recycling drivers to schedule all traffic in and out of the plant during our normal business hours of 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then we've also worked to really focus on doing some of the noisier activities that happen at the plant for maintenance during the day rather than in the evening hour. So with that, I will hand it over to our next presenter.
All right, so I'm going to be presenting project updates. These are large capital improvement projects at Ullrich. So if you want to proceed to the next slide. In general, these projects will be bringing various enhancements to the plant. Some of these are new processes. Some of these are renewal projects, essentially replacing older equipment with newer modern versions of it. We do not plan to expand the capacity or the area footprint of the plant. So its current 167 million gallon per day capacity is sufficient for our foreseeable planning timeline. So projects constructed that I'll describe to you will occur within current fence lines and current property boundaries. Next slide. So I'm going to divide my project list into two areas. One area is by our low service pump station, which is adjacent to Lake Austin, and as you can see the dam there. There's a large Austin Energy substation that borders this region, and within this kind of large box we have two projects that are planned. One project is in construction and one is finishing its design. Next slide. The Zebra Mussel project is currently in construction. This will be the construction of a couple of chemical holding tanks, some buried piping, and essentially will allow us to feed a zebra mussel repellent into our water system. This will protect us from having these small zebra shells grow on our equipment. So that is currently in construction, and we anticipate it being completed this year. Next slide. A larger project that's wrapping up its design phase and close to going out to bidding is the low service pump station electrical feed renewal. Just to explain what the low service pump station is, this is where all the water from Ullrich comes from. So we pull water from Lake Austin and then treat it into potable water. This electrical building, or this facility was built in 1969, and it still has its original electrical equipment that feed power to that building. Since this equipment's now much older than it needs to be, we've decided to replace it. To do so, we're going to build a new electrical building at the top of the hill there that you can see in this picture, and then a road and electrical duct bank that connects the new building to the old pump station. This project is also going to be beginning construction over this winter, but due to its larger size, we don't think it will finish until 2024, and its estimated budget is $23 million. If you go to the next slide, this is a rendering of what the project would look like from the lake. So as you can see, there'll be an electrical building at the top of the hill that encloses new electrical equipment. And then there'll be a road that essentially has the electrical cables underneath it that go from the new building to the old pump station. Next slide. So switching to the other side of Redbud, we're up at the treatment plant site. This area has a lot more projects going on, and so I'll go through each one of those individually and explain what they're for. Next slide, please. So a project that's currently in construction and referenced earlier is the Lime Feed Loop Improvement Project. This essentially upgrades the lime feed technology that Ullrich has to be similar to our new Hancock's facilities technology. Just for those who may not know, the lime softening process is implemented by this chemical. And so by adding lime to our water, you don't have to soften it at your home. Once this project's complete, we'll have enhanced worker safety, enhanced automation, and the system will also be more reliable. Another benefit of this project is we're going to be redoing the lime feed system that takes lime from our lime trucks and puts it into the silos. And so by improving the lime blower that we have inside, we should be able to minimize the need for trucks to run their blowers. Again, this project's in construction. It will occur mostly indoors, although you'll see some work outside on top of the basins, and it should be completed in 2022. Next slide. A project that is going to begin construction shortly is a polymer feed system. This project is intended to feed a chemical that will help us treat floodwater if a similar flood to 2018's happens again. You can see the picture here of Barton Creek flowing into Town Lake just reveals how dirty that water was. And since it was much muddier than water normally was, we struggled to treat it. With this new project, we think that will greatly enhance Ullrich's capability to remain online if a similar event happens in the future. This project will start construction this fall, and we believe it will be finished early next year in the winter time. Next. So a project that's going through design is essentially replacing roofing and various building issues at Ullrich. We have different windows and doors that are past their useful life and need to be replaced. And so we'll be essentially doing roofing projects and then some window and door projects. We will maintain the existing aesthetics of the plant. So we're going to replace windows and doors with like-for-like type replacements. And this project should start construction early next year and continue for a couple of years after that. Next slide. So another project that's in design and is a few years out from construction, but we just want you to know about it, is upgrading our current disinfection system from a gas-fed disinfection system for chlorine and ammonia gas to a Hancock's water plant type technology called Onsite sodium hypochlorite and liquid ammonium sulfate. So our plan is to do this conversion while maintaining production at the plant. So it's going to be a little bit tricky, but when we're finished, instead of having chlorine gas delivered to the plant, we'll be able to bring in trucks of essentially table salt that an electrical process will convert into hydrochloric acid for the water. And then we'll also bring in a liquid version of ammonia called liquid ammonium sulfate that also is much safer to handle than a gas. Next slide. And then finally, the last activity we're doing is a sound survey update. As mentioned by Julie, we had a large expansion of this facility that was done in 2006-2008 timeline. And during that project, we had a sound survey conducted. At the request of the City of Westlake, we are going to be updating that survey. So we're working on procuring that, and we should have a sound survey consultant on board in the winter of 2020. And we will share those results and hopefully show that we're still quiet. That's it for that slide.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you for going through those projects. So now we're at the portion of the meeting where we're happy to answer any questions from attendees. We don't have any questions posted yet, but we'll give you all time. If you just click on that Ask a Question button, then you can send your questions or comments through to us, and we will be happy to answer them. So I have gone ahead and advanced to the next slide to provide our project webpage, and to remind everyone that you can go to that page to sign up for email updates. We will send periodic updates about the projects there at the plant, and I am always available as a contact. If you have questions or if you have feedback, I can get you in touch with the right folks on our team to address anything that's going on. So we're just standing by for another minute or so to see if any questions are posted from folks attending the meeting. Okay. Well, I think we're always available. So if you watched and you didn't have a chance to ask a question or didn't have a question at this time, please feel free to get in touch with me. And I think we've covered our agenda, and we're ready to call this a wrap. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you soon.